All right, I've got in hand the BOOX 6 Gen 2. The thing that popped out to me immediately when I saw this was announced was this ridged back, the design language, the roundedness. It's so friendly, and it looked like it would be so fun to hold, and I can confirm that it is. Special thanks to BOOX for sending this out for review. They're not paying for this review, but they did send this out for free. I'll put a link in the description if you'd like to check it out for yourself. And today's video is just gonna be more of a first impression, sort of letting you all know what this is all about, what it's like to use it and hold it in hand. All right, so the first thing I wanna do, which is kind of unorthodox here on the channel, is just sprint through some of like the specs of this device, because I do think there are things worth noting, but I kind of want to attack this review from more of a experiential perspective. So let's run through those. So this is a 6-inch Carta e-ink display, which is why it's called BOOX 6, I would assume. It's 1448 by 1072 at 300 ppi, which is really nice for those of you who all know the e-ink world. It's got a glass cover, capacitive touch, front light with adjustable brightness and color temperature. A really cool feature here is this actually does take a pen. So it can move from a simple reader into the note-taking highlighting space, which coming in at around, I think, $200, is that right? Yeah, that's pretty cool that this has so much functionality built in. And the fact that it can take the pen or the stylus is something that the first generation couldn't do. All right, we have a Qualcomm octa-core up to 2 gigahertz Android 11 processor going on here, which has full Google Play Store, third-party app access, 50% more RAM than the original Go 6 with 32 gigabytes of storage, plus the micro SD expansion slot here at the bottom, which is super nice. I think for most of us, 32 gigs is probably plenty, but if you've just got thousands of books you want to put on this thing, there is expandable storage. But yeah, let's just get into my thoughts on this device. So I was right. The design is fantastic. I love this sort of ribbed feel here on the back. Comes in some beautiful colors. I went with this color. It usually pops, lighter colors usually pop better on camera, but it's just really nice. And I will say it's a little slippery, maybe more than I thought it would be. I think I felt like this would be more of like a rubbery finish, but it is more of a plastic. So it is nice to hold. However, if you're poolside or something and you've got wet fingers, it'll be a little bit more grippy here, or if you're a little sweaty throughout the day, which is nice. You really only have like an on and off power button and then a USB-C, and that's really the only like tactile input that you have. I think that the cover is really nice, very minimal. I mean, it's just a tube thing. You've got the magnets on the back there, and then you can flip it over to cover it up. That's a really nice look too, but then you immediately lose that ribbed design language. I kind of wish they had carried that over into the back of this just to bring that design language forward. But here's the thing I really wanted to talk about. I feel like with the XTE ink, which I don't have on me, if you're aware of that, it's a tiny little reader that goes on the back of your phone. I feel like there's something to be said. I mean, like in the days of old, when you had those like tiny digests, those tiny books that you could have with you at all times to read through, there's something to be said for having a smaller, pocketable way of reading. And I think that scratches that in a bit. Yes, it's a little bit bigger than something like the XTE ink, and it doesn't magnet to the back of your phone, but that is somewhat pocketable depending on what size pants you wear, how big your book bag might be, things like that. And it's just a small bite-sized tablet. And I think, when you add in the stylus capability, it's not too small for notes. It's getting there, but it's like the perfect size between let me highlight and mark this up and let me have something super portable and small so I can read in bite-sized pieces. If you're familiar with the BOOX system at all, it's pretty open. Like you have full access to the Google Play Store, which is nice. That way you can read Kindle, you can read, Kobo, you can really read EPUBs, whatever you want to put on here, you can. And I think that's really nice about BOOX. For me personally, with e-ink devices, I kind of like them locked down a bit more. Like I like Remarkable because of how locked down it is. And I like XTE ink because there is no Kindle app on it. But if you're someone who has a lot of books in a lot of different places, or maybe you want to be reading articles online, or you have full access here, and BOOX sort of went that route from the jump. And so they sort of sit in this place in the market that they make really nice devices that have lots of functionality and capability and are also open to trying any and all apps that are available. So I think think it's definitely more of like a tinkerer, someone who really wants to put a lot of stuff onto their e-ink device, which is just nice to have. But I do like something that this does, which is of course is color temperature. So you can see there above, like you can make it cooler or warmer, which this isn't anything new, but I just love that capability. Books usually builds in like these e-ink areas where you can say like, you know, refresh mode, do you want it regal, which is like higher quality, or do you want it fast so it refreshes more quickly, but you can have a little bit more ghosting, things like that. You have a full refresh. You can really come in here and play around with the settings. And I feel like Books is kind of like the Android, where something like Remarkable is probably more like Apple, right? Like there's a lot more you can do here. There's a lot more you can play around with, a lot of more customization. There's AI features being included. And yeah, that's just kind of a general overview there. I'm not gonna dive in too much into the software here. If you're familiar with Books, you can learn more about software there. I really just wanted to get into today like a first impressions of, like I said, the design language here, what it felt like to hold it in your hand. It is a little bit slippery because you do have the ability to write on this now, and you have the ability to have the front light in different ways and the touch sensitivity. It does add, as you can see here, a bit of a gap between the front glass and the actual display down below. That's just the toss-up you get. If you weren't able to write on this, if it didn't have a front light, if it didn't have a touch screen, then they would be able to pull that screen up closer to the glass, but it's just the trade-off that you get. And I think Books just does an excellent job of making this look just so nice. It still feels like paper. It's just an all-around good experience, I think, with Books. And as they continue to incorporate better processors over time and things like that, they're gonna stay at the forefront. But this is something that will last you years and something you could hand off, hand down to family members. I've always been a fan of Books and what they're trying to accomplish, and so I was really excited, mostly because of the design language, to get my hands on this device here. Yeah, that's gonna do it. Let me know if you have any questions, if you'd like to see maybe a full review on this that's a little less first impression-y and more going into details. Let me know if you have any questions about this device specifically. Again, thanks to Books for sending this out for review. If you'd like to learn more, there's a link in the description down below. Thanks so much for watching. On this channel, we like to talk about products that marry form and function. We like products that improve our lives and look good while doing so. So if that sounds cool to you, please consider subscribing. I'm also launching a quarterly magazine, which you can learn more about that in the description down below and at formandfunction.co. Like this video if you enjoyed, hype it up if you would, watch that video next. I think you're gonna love it, and we'll see you all in the next one.